issue near and dear to my heart, something I've come to your office for, and I'm happy to come to the Democrats for the same reason. I think this could be a bipartisan solution. We know what the problem is. Everybody is now recognizing that paying $1 trillion of interest payment on basically $38 trillion of debt is unsustainable. As we continue to be downgraded as a currency, we're going to end up being at about $2 trillion, especially when we see Medicare and Social Security objectively, predictably becoming bankrupt probably in the next presidency. This is an unfortunate byproduct of not having the foresight to do something different than we normally do. My bill is very simple. We know that we've had almost a 52% increase in federal spending just since 2019. We know that during that period, we've also had about an 86% increase in deficit spending. We can't continue doing this. My bill is very succinct, very simple. As a matter of fact, it's been reviewed by leadership as saying this sounds too good to be true, that why haven't we done this sooner? Typically in a budget, and I came up with this idea about 30 years ago when I was a logistics officer for my squadron, and realized at the end of my year, when I have 10% in reserve for my emergency spending, that all of a sudden I have to spend a bunch of money. And we see this in the military, but also through every bureaucracy in America, where if we don't spend it, we lose it, somebody else spends it anyways, and they'll actually reduce your budget because you obviously didn't need it. So we all got in the habit of doing something we know is wrong, we know is wasteful, and we know is built in by the American government to be wrong. We're spending money we don't need to spend. My bill says instead of use it or lose it, which is what we have now, a stick to do the wrong thing, instead, whatever you don't spend for that year, 49% of that goes back towards debt and deficit, not to the Speaker, not to the President, not to higher headquarters. Debt and deficit, a real problem. 49% rolls forward to the next fiscal year. So instead of being penalized with a smaller budget, you actually get a larger budget. And then 2% goes back to reward the people who are being effective and efficient in that department with bonuses up to 10% of their salary as retention. It's 3 carrots to do the right thing instead of 2 sticks to do the wrong thing. I think this should be bipartisan. Gentlemen, bipartisan. That we can actually save. This is entirely voluntary and non-punitive. There is no downside for it. There's no way the CBO can score it wrong. I'm a big critic of the CBO. How could you do anything other than save money on a voluntary basis? It gives you an option to not be penalized, but to be rewarded for saving the American taxpayer money, to save our children money on interest payments. Why wouldn't we do something so common sense? Why wouldn't this be bipartisan? Why wouldn't this be a good solution? Can we not reinvent the way we look at government? I hope that everybody in both sides of the House can actually get behind this bill. It's called the Incentivized Savings Act. I think it's going to be great for America. It's going to be great in the way we approach government. I think it'll be great for approaching debt and deficit and responsible thinking without having a Doge stepping in and making the decision for you. You're in charge of your own self-determination of your department and what you save money on, and you get rewarded for doing the right thing. Please, I encourage you to all sign on to the Incentivized Savings Act. It's the right thing to do. It's common sense. And I know it sounds too good to be true, but it's not. My second piece of legislation, H.R. 6211, the Medical Professional Access Act, which just simply allows people during times of emergency, whether it be something catastrophic, a hurricane or whatever, when you cross boundaries and state lines, I'm a physician, and you have credentialing issues between states because that's what we do. But they're not that much different from each other. And in times of emergency where there's need, it's basically a Good Samaritan law that says we don't have to go through another credentialing process, that you're allowed to practice there during that emergent time. There's a declaration of emergency by that governor or by the president. You're allowed to practice there without consequences, without review, because we don't have time. This is just a common sense approach to solving a very real problem when you need people to help others in the healthcare industry during an emergency. I highly encourage you also to sign on to H.R. 6211 in order to help people in times of emergency. And with that, gentlemen, I yield.
Thank you again for coming by the office and explaining that. That sounds like common sense to me.